Okay, so Skyfall's one of those films that not only deconstructs what a James Bond movie is, but it also embraces the old ways while carving a new path forward. As of today, it's still the highest grossing film in the franchise, with it bringing in a whopping $1.1 billion. For as good as the film is on a surface level though, I think where it soars is in the thematic payoffs which come from the final scene. Throughout this video, we'll be going through that ending and discussing why it works so well on a number of different levels. Even the ship sailing and the painting in M's office all builds perfectly off things set up throughout the movie, and I cannot wait to talk about it. Now, a lot of you are probably wondering where our Spy Who Loved Me breakdown is.
It's raining on this set, you see.
Well, we are working on it, and we actually had a White Lotus Esprit booked in for part of the shoot. Unfortunately, the owner had to pull out at the last minute, and we've been desperately trying to get another one. It's kind of hitting the point where we're probably going to have to shoot without it, which is a shame, but rest assured, I am working on that breakdown, and at worst, it'll be delayed about a month. So yeah, I thought I'd take the opportunity to talk about Skyfall and one of my favourite things in the movie. Now at its heart, Skyfall's a film about death. This is seen right from the off, with Bond even seemingly dying in the opening. Hell, even Adele's song kicks things off with the ominous lyrics. This is the end. Our first shot of M after the sequence is her standing in front of a row of coffins draped in Union Jacks. We then have MI6 being blown up before going to Bond's home of Skyfall, which is also destroyed as well.
I always hated this place.
Hell, even the movie culminates with the death of M, which ends Judi Dench's tenure. Dench had of course been a major part of the franchise, and she was the only actor to survive the reboot. So seeing her go was a massive moment, and there's few deaths that have hung over the series like this one. However, the movie also has a theme of resurrection and rebirth. Bond comes back after the title scene, and MI6 move into their quote-unquote new digs.
Where are we, Tanner? New digs.
We also have Jack the Bulldog, which very much represents Bond throughout the movie.
James Bond, Her Majesty's loyal terrier.
I have it here, and it kind of becomes a symbol of Bond's character in the movie. After the title sequence, we rejoin Bond living his days as a drunk without any purpose for his existence. When he shows up at M's, he looks completely destroyed, and a bit like me after the stag do I went on to Ibiza when I was 35. And I realised I couldn't handle this stuff anymore. I'm old. In general though, Bond feels like he's kind of played out, and the series has sort of been going through the motions. Spy films used to be a massive part of the theatre industry, and that was all really kick-started by Bond. After the release of Goldfinger, Bond was sent to the stratosphere, and that was then topped by the popularity of Thunderball. Even today, when adjusted for inflation, that's one of the highest grossing movies of all time. Bond mania was everywhere, and everyone was trying to cash in on the spy film. However, over the years, things waned and people's interests changed. At the time of its release, comic book movies were ramping up to become the biggest thing in cinema, and it just felt like other things just weren't as relevant, let's say. Considering how many Bond movies we'd had at this point, the character just felt tired, and this is discussed perfectly in the film by M and Bond.
So this is it. We're both played out.
If you believe that, why did you come back?
Good question.
Because we're under attack. And you know we need you.
Well, I'm here.
Bond seems like he's past it, and the new Q, who represents the new ways, highlights how these sexist, misogynistic
dinosaur
just need to be put to pasture.
Point taken.
Grand old warship being ignominiously hauled away for scrap. The inevitability of time, don't you think?
How that Skyfall brilliantly shows how a character like Bond is still relevant, and how he'll always remain that way. Though we have gadgets, trinkets, surveillance networks and computers making spycraft nearly unnecessary, there'll always need to be a man who can get in a room and pull the trigger.
Or not pulled. It's hard to know which in your pajamas.
And that's what Bond does throughout. Now Silver is the opposite in mindset to Bond, and he's ever pushing forward.
There's nothing superfluous in my life. When a thing is redundant, it is eliminated.
Upon encountering the villain though, Bond foils him time and time again through physical means.
What makes you think this is my first time?
Oh, Mr. Bond. All the physical stuff's so dull. So dull.
Even though Silver hacks MI6 and confronts M directly, Bond is the one who stops things by getting in the room with him. Bond's entire journey revolves around him going back to the old ways. Even him just getting a cutthroat razor shave from Moneypenny speaks to the character.
Sometimes the old ways are the best.
Pulling the classic Aston Martin DB5 out of storage, he decides to head back to his home of Skyfall. Now, Bond's past is rarely touched upon in the films, and hell, even Fleming never really gave him much of a backstory. He was always supposed to be a bit of a blank slate and someone that readers could project themselves onto. So getting little breadcrumbs like this was always fantastic for fans, and yeah, even seeing his parents' graves was a big moment at the time. It's at this home that Bond encounters the groundskeeper Kincaid, who we learn looked after him as a kid. Originally, they actually considered Sean Connery to play the role, but in the end decided against it. And yeah, I do think this would have been pretty distracting in the film. It's nice to go to Scotland though, and Fleming even laced Bond's origins in this country after seeing Connery's performance. However, the fact that they were thinking this in the first place highlights the kind of thing that was going through their mind for the ending. They're very much going back to the old ways, and this is seen throughout how they tackle the villain.
If all else fails, sometimes the old ways are the best.
Rather than using fancy gadgets or superpowered tech, they home alone Silver and his gang through makeshift traps. It leads to a showdown at a chapel on the grounds, which is of course important when we look at biblical meanings. Religious grounds like this are where we worship figures like Jesus, who also symbolizes resurrection. We also have funerals, weddings, and things from all walks of life. Chapels are often a place of celebration, but also a place of despair. This is where Silver plans to take his own life along with M and finally put an end to his anguish. However, Bond stops him, cementing that the new ways Silver represents aren't necessarily the way to go.
Last rat standing.
However, M dies in this too, with her also being part of those old ways. What emerges though is Bond completely reborn and ready to carve out something different.
Brave new world.
Also, don't think it's any coincidence that before making it to the chapel, we see Bond submerged in water. This somewhat acts as a baptism, with him coming out as a new man.
Well, I got into some deep water.
The use of fire here to the backdrop also aids this idea as well. Bond is reborn like a phoenix from the fire, and this is also highlighted in that final scene. M dies saying,
I did get one thing right.
And in Bond's rebirth, her legacy's intact. Standing on the rooftop looking over London, we see Union Jacks flying high in the sky. Rather than being draped over the coffins like they were at the start, which represented death, they've now returned and are flying there gracefully. Bond is of course also a symbol of Britain as well, so him standing there amongst them is very, very important. Hell, he even opened the Olympic Games in London the same year. So this is very, very important. Now, though interest in the character has gone back and forth, I think he's remained probably our most relevant export, and he's often a symbol of how Britain feels about itself at the time. And yet, seeing Bond completely washed and apathetic earlier in the film, it's difficult to not feel that sometimes as well. However, Bond standing like this reminds us of our resilience and how
we may be a small country, but we're a great one too. Country of Shakespeare, Churchill, the Beatles, Sean Connery.
Though Britain often doesn't seem relevant on the world stage, this reminds us that we can be. Moneypenny then presents Bond with the bulldog, which was left in M's will.
Maybe it was her way of telling you to take a desk job.
Just the opposite.
The bulldog is a classic symbol of Britain, and it represents the stubborn spirit that we have as a nation. Used heavily as a motif of Churchill's wartime defence, it represented the nation refusing to back down during World War II. Surviving the MI6 explosion showed its resilience, and now this is a reminder to Bond that he's Britain's loyal protector. This is something M also showed as well. Though she was told it might be time to retire, she kept on in the job until it was done.
Oh, to hell with dignity. I'll leave when the job's done.
She's as dutiful as Bond was, who's returned from the quote-unquote death to now serve his country again. This should be seen as M's final ask of the character, and that she wants him to remain the protector because he's the only one who can do it. And normally that would be the perfect way to close out the film, but Skyfall packs one more scene that takes things to the next level. Though I think Casino Royale ends in a classic way that sees the birth of James Bond.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
I actually think that Skyfall's ending's better. Yes, I know, that scene where he drops his name for the first time is very, very good, but something about Skyfall just hits even harder for me. Joining Eve in her office, we then learn that her surname's Moneypenny.
Well, my name's Eve. Eve Moneypenny.
Nowadays, I think a twist like this would be figured out much earlier, but I have to say, going into the film, I had no idea this would be one of the reveals. I remember getting goosebumps at the cinema, and yeah, then things went crazy in the next scene. Bond then walks into M's office, which is perfectly recreated from when we first saw it 50 years prior to the movie.
50-year-old McKellen. A particular favorite of yours, I understand?
In another twist, so obvious, I can't believe I didn't spot it, we learn that Mallory is in fact the new M. We get him telling Bond that there's work to do, and then pan about the office. The old warship is now back with its sails up and ready to head off back to work. Like the ship in the painting, Bond has gone from being a relic to a reborn hero. The painting by J.M.W. Turner in the museum was the Fighting Temeraire, which was being tugged to her last berth to be broken up. Butchered that pronunciation, but this mirrored Bond's predicament in this ever-evolving technological war. However, the one in M's office shows the Battle of Trafalgar, which is also by Turner. Showcasing the HMS Victory, it sails on with the Temeraire behind it. Rather than being decommissioned, the boat is sailing on to glorious battle as the wind blows in its sails. These two ships represent Bond and the new M, who are poised for their new conflicts. We then see M place a file on his desk for the next mission. All of a sudden, we're back in 1962 and ready to start things again with the franchise going through rebirth. Bond is ready to get back to work with pleasure, and in one scene, it completely revitalizes everything. This is coupled perfectly with the Bond theme ramping up in the background before we then cut to the gun barrel. I know they did it at the end of Quantum of Solace, but saving it until this point in this film just feels far more impactful. We are back, and the film signs itself off, celebrating the 50th anniversary. And what a way to do it. It's rare that a film franchise can boast of remaining relevant for over 50 years, but Bond's one of those that's managed to do it. I think this movie culminates by reminding us why the character has always remained on the cutting edge.
Old dog. New tricks.
The film fittingly released during the Queen's Jubilee, and both had been almost hand-in-hand symbols of Britain. Bond stayed at the top of the song because he's a character who sticks to the old ways and doesn't feel the need to cater to his detractors. Though the franchise has been reinvented and rebooted, it's still kept its core timeless elements that mean Bond can be bashed, beaten and broken, but he will always come back. I think the scene sums up that perfectly and builds off all the thematic elements in the movie to show why Bond's still going strong 70 years after his creation. What Skyfall does expertly as well is that it feels like a flawless conclusion of the 50-year franchise. However, it also opens the door for all the new things that are going to come. Skyfall is about death and legacy, but it's also about rebirth and renewal. And that's something I think a lot of us think about this time of year. If you're watching it at the time we drop this video, then chances are that you are too. We're about to hit the new year of 2026, and a lot of us think about what we want to do as we head into the new year. It's kind of this timeless message that will carry on forever, and that's why I absolutely love the ending of Skyfall. I've actually got the Amiga 50th anniversary watch that was released alongside the movie, and not sure how well you can see it, but it's got little 007s on it. But yeah, I never really used to appreciate watches that much, and then I remember reading a comment when we were doing our Dr. No breakdown that was like saying how I need to get a nice little timepiece. I didn't really get it at the time until I picked this one up. This was the first one I got, and yeah, I think when you look at a watch, you think about the past, but also think about the future. This isn't a watch advert, by the way. But yeah, just tying it into that, that's why I think Skyfall and the celebration around it will always keep a special place in my heart, because it's about looking back as much as it is looking forward. I hope wherever you guys are, you've had a great 2025, and for as bad as things can be, that you get to remain optimistic about things going forward. I'd of course love to hear your thoughts on the movie as well, and I wish you all the best as we head into 2026. Please drop a like on the video as well, and drop a comment with all your thoughts below. If you want to follow us on Instagram, then make sure you check us out at Heavy Spoilers, and we've also just launched some new stuff at the merch store below. There we have our brand new GoldenEye themed shirt, which you can see here with a lovely picture on the front, and we also have this one. This is our classic Akira inspired shirt with the DB5 James Bond walking to. If you've seen the Akira poster, you know what it's based upon, but yeah, that's all available at the merch store below, and we've got lots of sales on all the time. If not though, thanks for all your support watching the video. I really appreciate it, and yeah, I hope you take care and enjoy the rest of the year. With that out of the way though, I've been your host Paul, you've been the best, and I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.